Hey there, everybody. Most band boosters are not failing because they don't work hard enough. They're failing because they're working hard on the wrong things. You see, a $2,000 fundraiser for a program that needs, say, $80,000 is not a solution. That's a distraction. And today, I'm going to show you why most booster fundraising collapses and how to fix it so your program never has to beg again. So if you're new here, I'm Mike. I'm with SoundstageEDU. I help band, choir, theater, and fine arts programs of any variety build sustainable funding and stronger culture for the kids and the directors, and just a better experience for everyone involved. So let's get into it. So here's the truth that no one wants to say out loud. Most boosters, their programs are broke, not because they don't care, but because they don't plan. So I'm going to start my screen share here. We're going to see if this works. So here's the truth that no one wants to say out loud. Most booster programs are broke, not because they don't care, but because they don't plan. They have no annual revenue strategy. They have no financial goals. There's no projections of expenses. And they oftentimes rely on one-off panic fundraising to plug the holes. I call this the desperate parent trap. Something breaks, something is needed, something goes wrong, and now adults are scrambling to pay a bill that should have been covered, quite honestly, months ago. So I'm going to show you a basic budget. This is not built for anyone in particular. This is just something basic, something that I have seen, something that I have formulated over my years of experience doing this. So here's a basic budget. You have transportation costs. You have uniform maintenance and cleaning, instrument repair, food and hospitality, travel incidentals, hotel parking, tolls, clinicians, guest instructors, additional staff, show props, field elements, color guard. I mean, you can read this, everything here. And this is just estimated costs based on the market that I'm in, and it's going to vary from place to place, but that comes to about $87,000. How many of you guys even considered that? How many of you guys have sat down and said, this is how much we need? Or did you think that it really didn't cost that much? Or did you think that, well, the school will pay for it? Although I agree with you, they should, they often don't. There are some responsibilities that the program has to take on for itself, and these are some of them. So as much as we want to pawn that off on the district, sometimes we need to step in and fill those gaps. So here's the deal. I mean, you can't treat an $80,000 budget like a $5 box of chocolates. Do you see what I'm getting at here? Small fundraisers are simply emotional traps. They make you feel like you're doing something, but that math rarely works. So here's a car wash, maybe $700 after expenses. A spirit night, $200 to $600. Your candy bars, come on, $1,200 max. A mattress sale, those always seem like high ticket items and they should do great, but you got to pay that company for those. You got to pay for that product. You're getting a commission. So $1,500 to $3,000 if promoted well. Because honestly, these high ticket fundraisers come along and you think, oh gosh, this will be great. But know your audience. How many people do you know that just need a new mattress, or that they're going to impulse buy a mattress because the school down the street is doing a fundraiser? In my mind, that just seems kind of unrealistic. And I'm not knocking those down. That's not my intent here. I just want us to open our eyes and see the whole picture for what it really is. So why do these fail more often than not? One, they're too much work. There's too little actual revenue involved, and there's too much burnout. And let's be real, when we're doing these one-offs, they're too inconsistent. There's too much pressure on the same parents. And honestly, I believe it's too much pressure on your community when you send the kids out to go hustle these things multiple times a year. It gets to a point where people just condition themselves to start to say no, especially when we're staring down the barrel of the economic situation that we're in now. We've got to think bigger. We've got to think more long term. So this is why I'm going to say that the programs that are out there winning financially, and you know them, you've seen them, and you wonder what they're doing differently. Here's what's happening. They're not asking what fundraiser should we do. What they're asking is, what revenue systems can we build? And I've come up with, and this isn't just me, but this is what I've seen. There's 4 revenue pillar systems that actually work for our situation. So let's talk about sponsorship and local business partners. Why is this a thing? Well, one, they're recurring money. If you establish them correctly, if you set them up right, they're going to come back year after year after year. You can do tiered packaging. You don't have to go for the big gun. You don't have to harpoon the whale right out of the gate. You can do small things. Give them an easy entry access. Maybe you're in a small town like I am, and you've got nothing but small businesses, and you don't feel comfortable going to them and saying, hey, can you sponsor us for, $25,000 or $50,000? Just doesn't feel comfortable. And in many cases, these small businesses can't. But what they can do is maybe sponsor you for a couple $100 a month as their budget allows. You give them tiered access. You give them an easy on-ramp, kind of like we talk about in our volunteer training. Give them an easy on-ramp. Let them taste it. Let them have the experience of what it's like to support you guys and the return on their investment to the community. So that's what the tiered packages come in, $50, $250, $500, $1,000, $2,500, whatever matches the economics of your community. You can have alumni and small business support. We just covered that. But your alumni, what if your alumni lives in the suburb up the street who actually runs a big company? Those guys do exist, and they're ready to support the programs that help them become who they are. So don't discount the alumni or the alumni-owned small businesses or the parent-owned small businesses. Don't be afraid of them either. The next thing you can do is have a big annual event. So this is something I discussed with a lot of folks talking about event planning. I just recently spoke with a group that lost their anchor event, and they need to know what to do. So maybe one big annual event's not the situation. Maybe you need 2. Or maybe you not need to rely on an event that comes to you, but maybe you need to create your own. Something like a gala, a winter gala, a Valentine's gala, a gala around a holiday, a raffle night, a reverse raffle. That's something I've talked about a lot with some folks. A carnival, auction, adult prom, tasting night, car show. There's a lot of things we can do here. Silent discos. Find that anchor event that fits your community, that fits your culture, that fits you, and start to workshop it, start to brainstorm it, start to write it down, and understand that in these events, the win comes from the sponsorship. When you're producing an event, when you're producing something that anchors itself to the community, something that the community comes to expect, something that the community looks for and actually plans their lives around, those are big sponsorship opportunities where you can literally fund your season in one night. There are oftentimes I help people set those things up where there is one event that's happening that will literally fund their entire season. And not just in big towns. Sometimes these are in small towns. So it's absolutely doable because I've seen it happen. And if I can help these groups do that, then you can do this too. So these are predictable. They're scalable. You don't have to guess. How many mattresses are we going to sell this year? How many people are going to sponsor a student? How many people are going to sponsor a day on the calendar? These are predictable. They're scalable. And it creates brand reputation year after year. And you're going to say, well, we're not a brand. You are. You're creating a brand identity for your program via your booster organization. You are creating a brand. And you need that reputation in your community because with the reputation comes credibility, and with that credibility comes sponsorships. Not just people coming to your event, but companies that want to partner with you guys and lift up your cause. So what about recurring monthly donors? We see this a lot in the creator space on the internet. Recurring monthly donors. $10 to $25 a month adds up super fast, and it's reliable. And in most cases, it's steady. Sometimes things come along that will shoot that in the foot. I get that. But what you need to realize is that situations like this are great for parents, grandparents, and your smaller alumni. You don't need massive donations from these people. You need to get that out of your head. Sometimes what you need is just massive action on the smaller front, because those things add up fast and they come in every month. I mean, most people that I know can't afford $10 a month. It's an easier barrier of entry for them. And honestly, and I know a lot of us don't want to talk about this or admit this, but once you get them in the habit of giving that $10, $25 a month, eventually that's just a budget line item for them. And they don't even know they're paying it after a while. And I know that may sound off, but it's true. And there's nothing wrong with that. We subscribe to things all the time. And eventually they just become a part of the output. And every once in a while, we may look back at it and go, oh, well, no, I'm supporting a good cause. So that's what it is. If you are inviting these folks into impact and not just giving money, they're going to stick around long term. Another thing that you guys can do is digital fundraising. I'm not the biggest fan of these things because they do get lost in all the noise, but they do work. I'm not going to discount that. And again, every little bit helps. If we're just trying to fund the season and not panic fundraising, if you establish these things for long-term situations and you're actually doing the work of getting these things out there, they can be worthwhile. Because a lot of times these things just work in the background for you. They're not active fundraisers. They're just kind of passive. Now, I agree there's no such thing as passive income in any form of imagination. It doesn't exist. It takes work. But in this situation, it takes a lot of work initially, such as putting QR codes everywhere. Put them at the bulletin board at the gym, put them on the bulletin board at the grocery store. I mean, they have community boards for these things in most towns, in most businesses. Put them in the window of a strip mall. You never know who's going to walk by and go, hey, I was part of that program. Then the memories start flooding in. And they may give $5 or $10, but that's $5 or $10 you didn't have. And those are things that can exist long term. Now, I'm not a fan of this one because I do not believe that a booster operation should operate with Venmo or Cash App. Just the reconciliation in those is just not very good. It's not very safe. But if you have a way that your bank can do this direct to your booster bank account, and you're not funneling money through other other accounts, I can see how this may be viable. Just check your bylaws, check your banking, check legality on things like this. But I know people do it. And so I'm not going to not say it because someone's going to come in here and say, well, what about this? I'm just going to say it's not the best idea, but it is available to you if you're doing it properly. Text to give. There are programs set up. There are some software as a service that's called a SaaS. Those types of programs exist for boosters. I'm not going to name them out because I believe that programs like that, I mean, software is great once you've established foundation, once you've established process. Using software to try and establish this process is not a good idea. You need to get your ears wet first. Does that make sense? You don't want to just jump into an expensive monthly software that you have to learn, and that isn't always strongly supported. I am a fan and an advocate for self-built systems, but there are text-to-give programs out there. There's plenty of those. You just got to find one that works for you. And then this is tied directly into my previous life of doing marketing for people, but email list building. This is essential in any situation. As a 501c3, as a nonprofit, you are technically a corporation, you're a business. And you need to maintain avenues of contact with all of your donors, all of your supporters, all of your fans. And you do that through an email list. That way, when a crisis comes up, and they will, because this is planet Earth, and crises happen, you can send out an email blast. Case in point, and this didn't require an email blast, but this is a tragedy, this is a crisis that happened in our space, I believe, yesterday. And I mean, that may not mean anything to you guys when I say yesterday, because there's no telling when you're actually going to watch this. I can't actually think that you're going to watch this today. I can't actually believe that I might have this produced and ready today. Heck, it could be a month before I release this from now. But as of the recording here, yesterday, a band's semi-truck got hit by a train. Now, no one was hurt. Everyone was fine. But the truck got split in half. A lot of instruments were damaged. Now, because it had such a public-facing, it was news. And because of that, a bunch of people rose up and jumped in. Other programs rose in. It's like, here are your instruments. Let's get you to that last competition. Or, hey, we're going to be at that competition too. You're going to use our instruments when we're done. In a situation like this, the email blast was not needed. But what if it was? And you could rally the troops. You could have 10, 15,000 people on your email list that can all start to network and figure out a solution. So the email list isn't just for fundraising. It's a lifeline. So keep that in mind. It's not just weird marketing stuff. So how do you plan your successful year? This is a simple system that I teach to boosters all over the country. And it is simple. It's just 5 steps. Step 1, total up what the program actually costs for the year. Don't guess. Put in your trip dates. How much is the marching season going to cost? What about your clinicians, show props, food, buses, flights, everything? Think of all of that. I mean, every once in a while, you'll have an opportunity come along that will cost you an arm and a leg. You can't always plan for those things, but you can have a strategy in place that you can amplify. You can have a cushion to launch from. And here's why I say this, because I saw this post, and I'm only bringing this up because I saw this publicly, but there was a group that got invited to London. And the roundabout price tag on this situation for them, which was great, that means they did some research, was going to be about $500,000. But it was the activity that I was seeing behind it that was showing there wasn't really a plan. And even though this thing was a year out, more than a year out for them, they were already in panic mode because there was no structure beneath them for massive fundraising. I mean, if they were already involved in events, and maybe they are, and maybe they're like overwhelmed by it, and I get that. Having a process in place to help you mitigate these situations will help and reduce that panic and reduce that overwhelm and that anxiety that comes from opportunities like that, because we want our kids to have these spectacular once in a lifetime situations. But as their parents, as their adult support, we need to be able to rise up. And that's not always the case if you don't have a process, a structure, a foundation in place. So total up what the program actually costs. And that's the goal you shoot for ahead of time, which is what step 2 is. You set your fundraising goal before the season starts. Not, well, we'll take what we can get, but actually, we need $87,000 and we are going to raise it. And set the goal to try and raise that before the year even begins. So you see, this means you have to work ahead. That's what these plans are for. So assign revenue pillars, maybe $35,000 from sponsors, maybe $30,000 from your annual event, $10,000 from fair access fees, and then $5,000 for your smaller fundraisers to include everybody, to get everyone involved and to spread visibility of your program. Because sometimes these small fundraisers are more about visibility than they are about bringing in money, because you're putting the kids out there, you're putting the parents out there. Everyone is a little more proactive when you have, 5,000 candy bars sitting in your garage. Does that make sense? And then, because the fundraising takes people, it takes humans, you want to build your systems out early. So I'm going to say you build marketing and volunteer systems early. You want to get your people plugged in early. You want your marketing strategy in place early. Because if people don't know you're fundraising via marketing, they're not going to step in and help you. So you got to market. And then, very importantly, track your results. Don't guess. Measure everything you're doing. There's no need to guess at this. You want to know exactly what you're doing, exactly what you're reaching for, what works, what doesn't, so you can get rid of those situations. I'm not saying guessing. Well, no, I am saying guessing is bad. Don't guess. Know what you're getting into. Know what you're doing. And here's a couple of stories for you of things I've seen, and a story that someone fed with me. A story that someone shared with me while we were walking around the neighborhood trick-or-treating the other day. We'll start with that one because it's kind of funny to me. But they had a small band. No, it wasn't actually a small band. They were in a small town. But in small towns, you tend to generate big bands because you don't have a lot of things to do. So everyone's in the band, right? So I think they had like 150 kids for this little town in Kansas. And they partnered with the little Amish community next to them, who make incredible pies. They make incredible bacon. Everything they do is incredible. So the partnership was the kids would go sell pies and they would make them and deliver them to the school for the kids to deliver to the people that are supporting them. Well, these 150 kids wound up selling like 3,000 or 4,000 pies. The Amish community said, never again. We're capping you guys at like 3 or 4 pies per student. But this generated a lot of revenue for them because they did something unique, because they did something creative, and because they had a sponsor with true visibility to get behind them. And because they planned, the only panic that happened here was for the people making those pies. That's where the panic came in. But I have another program that I am connected to out in, in another state that wanted to change things up. They were tired of the cookie dough fundraisers. They were tired of the potluck fundraisers. They were tired of inviting parents into their music room with crock pot and paying $5 to eat an international meal. Now, although those are great for bonding, those are great for building relationships with your parent base, you're still just pulling money from the parent base. And this is not very sustainable. So they came to me asking, what can we do? And my response was, well, what do you have? What do you have available to you in your community? And the way the conversation came about was that they were friends with a magician. And so we started to structure an event around said magician. And it ended up involving the whole multidisciplinary segment of this school: orchestra, band, choir, theater, all of the kids, in order to fund all of the programs. And they all took a segment of this event. And turns out to be close to a $30,000 or $40,000 opportunity for a middle school. Not a high school, a middle school. And the middle schools, we all know, don't have as much of a financial need as, say, a high school. But I bet a high school could do a lot with 40 grand in a one-night event. Because of that, they eliminated panic fundraising. They eliminated all the busy work, and they actually funded the program and were able to send the choir kids on their trip. Kids shouldn't lose opportunities because the adults couldn't communicate or plan ahead. That's the whole point of this. So if your booster program is stuck in the fundraising hamster wheel, or you feel like you're always begging for volunteers, or you're tired of the same 10 parents doing everything, your program doesn't have a fundraising problem. It has a strategy problem. And that, my friends, is fixable. So if you want help building a real fundraising plan, one that stops panic, reduces burnout, and actually funds the program, then reach out. Comment below, email me at SoundstageEDU@gmail.com, or connect with us on social media. And if you want the free template or the free little budget that I used today, or the step-by-steps for just a fundraising strategy, or what you need to do, drop a comment that says strategy, and I'll package it up real nice and I'll send it to you. But come on, guys, let's build something sustainable. Let's build something fun. And I'm going to do these all week long. I'm not all week long. I'm going to do these every week for as long as I can. For as long as I can, build these presentations and come up with these concepts for you that are actually shareable and actionable. We'll keep doing that. But in the meantime, while we're waiting for the next one to release, why don't you go into the comments and tell me what you would like to hear next? I want to tailor this for what you guys actually need, not what I think that I see. Because what I see might not be the full picture. So go ahead and leave a comment. Tell me what you would like to see next, and we'll build that out for you guys. So until then, this has been Mike. This is SoundstageEDU. Let's build something together.